What's up, Tyler Tachman with the Des Moines Register here after Iowa's 74-69 win over Ole Miss. The Hawkeyes improved to 6-0 on the season, and for the first time, we saw Iowa really get tested. It was tied at 31 at halftime. Punches and counter punches thrown between Iowa and Ole Miss. There was a few times where they had the opportunity to gain separation, and Ole Miss kind of kept hanging around, and you're wondering whether that was going to come up and end up biting Iowa, that they weren't able to deliver the knockout blow. But ultimately, Iowa doesn't make enough plays down the stretch of the game, and I feel like we learned something about Iowa. They had, through the first 5 games of the season, had only trailed for less than 7 minutes. Now, they only trailed for about 3 minutes against Ole Miss, but it was a tightly contested game. And to see Iowa in this type of setting, needing plays, free throws, rebounds down in crunch time, and we saw Iowa make the plays necessary to beat a SEC team. And really the story of the day to begin with was Bennett Sturdy. He was absolutely sensational. 29 points, 9 of 20 from the field. He goes 6 of 8 from 3. Ole Miss was, switching ball screens, and he was basically just zeroing in on matchups against bigger, slower defenders. And, he was really, to me, it felt like kind of his big introduction as an Iowa Hawkeye. He played well through the first 5 games of the season against lesser competition, plus Xavier, who hasn't been off to a great start this season. But you're still kind of, waiting to see what he will do against better competition. And this was against a really good defense, against Chris Beard, Koch team who took Texas Tech to the national championship in 2019, and Bennett Sturdy basically lights him on fire. There were stretches in the second half where he was basically unstoppable. He was super impressive, carried Iowa. He scores almost half of their points. And Bennett Sturdy comes in with a lot of hype, Missouri Valley Conference Player of the Year. He's showing up on NBA draft boards, but it still feels like, okay, you kind of want to see it happen in Iowa jersey, and you want to see it happen against better competition. And he has checked those boxes up to this point this season, and it's quite a luxury for Iowa to have what, early on looks like one of the best players in college basketball who can just carry you for stretches. And it wasn't a pretty game. It was a rock fight type style, and that's not what Iowa fans are necessarily used to seeing. This is probably the type of game that Iowa would lose in the past, where it's against a physical, longer opponent. But Iowa actually, matched and in some ways outperform Ole Miss. They hold advantage on the boards, 30-29. In terms of offensive rebounding, it was 11-6 in favor of Iowa. The Hawkeyes scored 18 second chance points to Ole Miss's 11. And turnovers 13 for Ole Miss in comparison to Iowa 7. So they made the winning details. This looked like a team who has experience winning these types of games, which a handful of these guys have, from Drake, whether you talk about Alvaro Fulgaris, who was on a Robert Morris team that was in the NCAA tournament, whether you talk about the coaching staff and Ben McCollum, who's a 4-time Division II national champion. And in the first half, too, Iowa dealt with foul trouble. Cam Maniau, Tavion Banks, Alvaro Fulgaris, all with 2 fouls, and her having to sit out for stretches. So it wasn't a perfect game. Iowa only goes 43% from the field and 36% from 3. And I'm mad at myself for waiting for so long to talk about Cooper Koch, because this was his best game as a Hawkeye, and he was arguably, outside of Bennett Sturdy, Iowa's best player. He goes a double-double, 14 points, 10 boards. He was really just brought great energy, was really good on the glass. Iowa's second leading scorer. And you think about the journey that he's been on since the start of his true freshman season, where he only plays 10 games due to a medical issue. Fran McCaffrey is out at Iowa. He is one of 2 players to return to the Hawkeyes during this kind of coaching change. But this was, he looked really comfortable. He looked confident. This was the best that he's looked in the Iowa jersey, and I'm not sure that Iowa wins this game without him. And I think it does bring up a little bit, who can Iowa trust outside of Bennett Sturdy. And I think that's something that we're still trying to figure out. Cooper Koch looks like he can be, in the words that Bennett Sturdy described him, which I thought was good, was a glue guy. And he definitely played like that. But Iowa went with Cale Combs again in the starting lineup. He goes for 7 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. It felt like he was really valuable. Alvaro Figueres has 7. Tavion Banks has 7. Only 1 rebound. You probably want a little bit more out of him. Maniel, 6 and 4. But Iowa was pushed. They responded. They won. As I'm recording this, Grand Canyon with a double-digit lead, closing in on a victory over Utah. Barring something miraculous, it looks like the Hawkeyes will play Grand Canyon on November 26th. So appreciate everyone for tuning in, and stay locked in for coverage out in California.